Greetings from Bangalore, India. I'm Kathy Brown, host of today's Hangout, and I'd like to share with you what you're about to witness today and what will be happening over the next couple of days. This broadcast event is presented by the American Society of Echocardiography Foundation, otherwise known as ASEF, in cooperation with Sri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Medical Sciences. Beginning today, a team of ASEF cardiologists and sonographers will work hand in hand with local faculty to provide free patient care to people who are suffering from rheumatic heart disease. Today's event will be welcoming that team and providing a really interesting ceremony that many of us have not been witness to until today. So this is a very special event. I would like to introduce you to Dr. Partha Sengupta, who will be beginning the ceremony shortly. Dr. Sengupta is the Director of Cardiac Ultrasound Research and Associate Professor of Medicine in Cardiology at the Mount Sinai Medical Center. He's also the Chair of ASE's New Technology Task Force and Director of this Values Program. And he's been a key player in getting this organized so that we can all have this event and so that people can receive this kind of patient care along with the local faculty. So I would like to bring you live into the conference where we're going to begin.
Thank you, Kathy. Just waiting for the image to show up in the Google Hangout. Are you able to see us from the auditorium?
Yes, we're able to see you. You are locked in.
Perfect. Perfect. So, welcome to the ASE Foundation Values Program, and thank you, Kathy, for broadcasting it live globally, and this is being shown across on the YouTube. This is the third ASE humanitarian mission program in India, and this time this is being hosted in collaboration with Sri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Medical Sciences at Bangalore. We have 15 ASE volunteers with local physicians and paramedic workers who are going to participate in a new age assessment of patients focusing on rheumatic heart disease. The goal of this humanitarian mission is, number one, is to bring new technology to the underprivileged, the focus area of rheumatic heart disease. Number two is to provide education. So during this 3 days event, we will have 30 delegates who will work very closely with the experts and evaluate patients with rheumatic heart disease. And we hope that this is going to provide new paradigms and new opportunities in scientific innovation. Number three, there is a very new technology arm to this humanitarian mission. For the first time, we will have applications on smartphones, or what is called as mobile health applications, that will be used for evaluation of this patient. And we will see the interaction of these mobile applications with comprehensive multidimensional echocardiography, how this all allows us to evaluate patients with rheumatic heart disease with more precision. Finally, all these patients are going to be provided consultation. They're going to be having definitive management outlined for them. And for some of them, we might even end up providing therapeutic arms during the mission time itself. We're going to perform some percutaneous mitral valve procedures right here in the institution. Now, without further delay, it is time for the opening rituals at the institution. And I would like to invite Dr. Ramnath Iyer, who is one of the senior most faculty in cardiology at Sathya Sai Institute, and he's in charge of the cardiology wing at Puttaparthi. Dr. Ramnath is going to take us through the opening ceremony rituals. Dr. Ramnath.
Thank you, Dr. Partho. On behalf of the Sathya Institute of Higher Medical Sciences, I extend a warm welcome to one and all. At the outset, let me offer most prayerful prostrations at the lotus feet of our beloved master, motivator and mentor, Bhagwan Sri Sathya Sai Baba. Fire in India has always symbolized as an eternal witness for everything auspicious. Going along with the tradition, we kickstart the ASEF Values program today with a customary cultural invocation and lighting of the lamp, inaugurating the event. I request our Honorable Director, Dr. Swarna Bharadwaj, our Chief of Cardiology, Dr. P.K. Das, Dr. Parthu Sengupta, Mr. David, and Dr. Melissa, please proceed for the inaugural event. I request our invocation girls to start the invocation.
Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurame Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Akhanda Mandalakaram Vyaptam Yena Characharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Gurureva Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha.
Thank you. So that was a wonderful, solemn inauguration to this great August event. Now I request our director, Dr. Swarna Bharadwaj, to kindly deliver the inaugural and welcome address to this great session. Dr. Bharadwaj, madam, please.
Om Shri Sai Ram. My humble pranams at the lotus feet of our master and founder of this institution, Bhagwan Shri Sat Sai Baba. Dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, I'm so happy to see that this effort of our cardiology department, for which they have been working for so many days, has fructified today. I welcome you all to this endeavor by us, and I'll briefly take you through this journey of each one of us who has joined this institution to serve Swami's health mission. Bhagwan Sat Sai Baba has made an open declaration that health and education, along with this, the birthright of every citizen that inhabits this globe. Keeping that in mind, he started a massive health mission, and In that opened a chain of medical institutions in which our institution also figures. The first one was started in Puttaparthi when he declared that there's going to be a super specialty hospital in a small village-like place, which is highly spiritual though, and everybody was amazed, and he said that this is going to come up in a year's time. People looked at him in wonder whether it was just a statement or it's going to be a reality. Lo and behold, that 330-bedded hospital did come up in years' time. It had the latest equipment, the most competent doctors, and exactly after 1 year of his declaration, that hospital performed heart surgeries with success for each one of them. This is not a small task to be achieved by any human being. There has to be a super hand in that, and that hand belongs to the universal cosmic power of God. He never declared that he alone is God. He said that each one of us has God within ourselves, and that God has to come out to participate in this health mission, which is for the universal good. Now, when you visit this institution, you all must have felt the uniqueness of this institution. It's a wonder in healthcare. The world claims of many wonders or miracles, but this one is a real miracle in the healthcare. It cannot be verbalized. Just feel in your hearts the peace that you are experiencing. The vibration which is running through this institution will make you deliberately, willingly, and wantingly to participate in this health mission of Swami. What is his health mission? He says health should be made available to every human being, irrespective of caste, creed, or religion, and it should be free for all. This is a global declaration. It addresses to each individual in the globe, and we are responsible to deliver this healthcare in the manner that he desires it to be. This is nothing new. It's only an enunciation of the fact that we have forgotten the principles of healthcare. According to him, healthcare, we should not differentiate between any person, country, caste, or creed. It should be delivered to all. It should be free healthcare, and most of all, it should be loving healthcare. It's not Medicare, it is love care that has to be incorporated into the health system. You have seen that we have made tremendous advances in technology, but unfortunately, from the noble profession that it was, it has turned into an industry. Industry that looks at cost effectiveness and the cost benefits that the procedures and the care would bring to the institution. That factor is totally ruled out here. So far, if I were to quote the figures of this institution, we have seen about 10 lakh patients free of cost at the outpatients departments, and for them all diagnostic modalities were free, and expensive diagnostic modalities like CT and MRI are done free of cost. Here, leave aside the normal hematological, biomedical, and other tests that are carried out. In cardiology, we have rendered care to 47,000 patients, cardiothoracic vascular surgery 18,000 cases, and neurosurgery 19,000 cases. This has all been free of cost. He says, when your intentions are good, money will never be a problem. There will never be a dearth of money. And this he has proved. Personally, belong to a poor family, and all this wealth that you see today has come from us, from people like you and me who believed in the cause and contributed financially amply to carry out this super specialty hospital work. When 22 years ago he started the Puttaparthi hospital, people wondered how long it's going to last. And lo and behold, another hospital came, in 2001, and we are 14 years old now, and we are carrying out work with the same gusto. This achievement is not a small achievement because everybody in the world, APJ Kalam, our ex-president, our Prime Minister, Mr. Manmohan Singh, Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee, these are just to count a few. They all visited this place, and I am a witness to that visit by them. They were all awestruck, speechless, and one common sentence that came from them, along with eyes full of tears: this is a miracle. This is a divine inspiration. They have never seen a parallel of this, and this is matchless. Why did he establish such a matchless institution? This is for all of us to wake up the God within ourselves and to cudgel the society to participate to make as many such model institutions in the world as many delegates I see today. I hope you are all inspired by our small story and few quotes that I take from his discourses. Education without character and intelligence without compassion will never lead to any success or happiness. With divine values and will, these exemplary institutions have come up to be replicated by each member of this society. That is what we mean by universal healthcare. The main tool in running this universal healthcare is neither the knowledge nor the technology, but one single religion, that is love. He said, and love comes only with the spirit of sacrifice. He said that, I quote, "It is your good fortune that you have become doctors, sacrifice of a true doctor." So, doctors should have the spirit of sacrifice. They should be compassionate and considerate towards the poor. There are so many poor people who are losing their lives as they cannot afford costly treatment. Your love alone can sustain such lives. The more you develop the spirit of sacrifice in you, the greater will be the world's progress. Again, I quote, "Even more than the drugs the doctors prescribe, the sweet, soft words they speak and the love and the sympathy they evince can cure better and quicker the illness of all their patients. Look upon them as your own kith and kin, special guests, and your own closest friends, and attend to them lovingly with unflinching care. I call upon all of you to maintain this attitude in every situation, in every institution that carries the tag of Satsai institutions." Now, to conclude, I would again pray to God that this transformation, this character building, this compassion springs up, sprouts up in your heart. It's already there, I'm sure. But the watering that it needs will come through this inspiration, and He may bless you so that we can replicate such models all over the globe where IT flourishes, but the only department that will be missing from the IT department would be the billing department. I wish you all success. I congratulate Dr. Dash and his team for this endeavor. I thank you for the opportunity to eat into the technical time. I again once request you all to go through this temple of healing and enrich your hearts with the common religion we have got tied up today, and that is love. Love all. Thank you. Sathya.
Thank you, ma'am. It was a really touching account on this miracle of love created by Bhagwan Sri Sathya Sai Baba. And I'm sure all of us here have been equally moved hearing this account. Now, I request the Chief Architect of the Department of Cardiology of this great temple of healing, Dr. P.K. Das, to come and give of how he has nurtured the seed of cardiology sown by Bhagwan Sathya Sai Baba and how he has made it into a mighty, huge banyan tree. Dr. Das, please.
My humble salutation at the divine feet, Sri Sathya Sai Baba. Very good morning, distinguished guests and delegates. On behalf of Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Medical Science, Cardiology Department, once again I extend my warm welcome all of you to this value program. So I have been assigned to take you through journey cardiology for what I've done in the last 24 years. Swami is the motivator, inspirator, and if you believe me, he is the performer. And he has given us immense inspiration to go through this journey. Since 1991 and also from 2001, we have seen more than 1 million of patients in outpatient cardiology, and out of them, 1/3 being intervened mostly by catheter-based. We have got the profile of our patient load. The rheumatic heart disease constitutes 40% of the total load, and the congenital, coronary, and miscellaneous maybe 32, 35, and 25%. And we have got very wonderful non-invasive department, mostly instead of in the outpatient department. This department constitutes state-of-the-art echocardiography missions. We do regular 2-dimensional, 3-dimensionals, stress echo, and we have got very beautiful, very wonderful offline echo analysis. Everyone can see echo in anywhere. I can see echo in my cath lab. Surgeons can see an echo in also in theater while performing the surgery. And we have got other things like ankle buckle indexes, full monitoring, and tilt wall testings, and also being done regularly in our department. We have got superb imaging facilities in addition to echo, and the world class CT, MRI, which is done under the expertise of Dr. Srikant Shola. And he has set also EcoSci website, which is dedicated to echocardiography. And he is the most important organizer for the EcoCME program, which usually held 4 times in a year. And let me go through that we are doing, that diagnostic and interventional cardiology. Our cath lab is fully loaded. We have crossed more than 30,000 BMP procedures, the largest data, largest number in the whole world. And besides coronary, that is irregular with yours, and peripheral angioplasty, carotid, and renal, and transcatheter of the septal defects in adults. And besides, we have got very good pediatric work here. We do all kind of holes we can close, and all kind of doors we can open. Aortic stenosis, pulmonary stenosis, coarctation aorta, and acquired by aorta-arteritis. We can able to close any defect and open any block. And to date, more than almost 1,000 devices we have implanted. That is in HD, VHD, coronary fistula, and rupture stance of valve. And not only this, we have got a wonderful rhythm management program. We ablate supraventricular tachycardia in normal heart and diseased heart. We have got beautiful NAVIC system with yours. Is most up-to-date machine, and you have to vast experience using 3D machine. And besides this, we have held yearly workshop, CV, and National EP Conference with the bridging team from the Phoenix, UCD, and UTAS. And we do regularly implant the BIV CRTD in heart failure patients and patients with aborted sudden cardiac death. And we have got 5 state-of-the-art cath labs with us, with integrated FFR and NICT. We have got all facilities like IVOS and rotational atherectomy and OCT for complex angioplasties. And CTMRI has been integrated to our cath lab machine also. So keeping in the future, probably we'll be doing TR here. And only we are lacking hybrid work. Probably in a couple of years, we are going to have this. Other in terms of procedure like alcohol ablation or hypertrophic obstructive cardiomyopathy, probably one of the largest single center in India. We have crossed almost 70 ablation procedures in hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. And besides, we do close post-impact to VHD, especially very sick patient which has been rejected by the surgeons, and job is never in. And Swami's missions will continue. Besides this, we have got our beautiful academic program. We do impart training here to the postgraduate cardiology. So it is my pleasure to mention that we bagged 3 gold medals in DNA program cardiology. That means the 3 students in a row, they got gold medals. They became the first in the country. And we do the training in cardiology technicians, and also you do training to postgraduate students whoever comes from across country here, because we have got good exposure of patients here. All because of this Swami's grace and blessing and inspiration, and we feel that Swami does perform himself this work here. And Swami's mission will go on like this, relentlessly, tirelessly, endlessly. And his life is his mission. And Swami welcomes you with this value program. Thank you very much. Jai Sai Ram.
Thank you, Dr. Das, sir. I am very sure that just with human efforts, such a mammoth accomplishment could never have been achieved. But for the divine grace working through the hands of great people like Dr. Das and many others who have kind of noble mission. Now I invite Dr. Sengupta to proceed with the further program. Dr. Sengupta, please.
Thank you, Dr. Aryer. This was an amazing, inspirational rendering that we just witnessed. And now it's time to make it all global. Now we're going to move out from the confines of this auditorium and move out into the globe. We have some stalwarts, some experts who have joined us. They're going to provide us their impression, their viewpoints on how such a program, when seen from a global perspective, can really escalate and make it something that can be witnessed and practiced all over. So I'm going to now invite Dr. Tom Ryan. Dr. Tom Ryan is the director of Ohio State University Heart and Vascular Center. He's the John G. Jean Bennett McCoy Chair in Cardiovascular Medicine, and he's also the chair of the ASE Foundation. Ever since I expressed the interest in organizing this humanitarian mission with Dr. Ryan, he has been extremely supportive of such activities. In fact, the ASE Foundation has entrusted some new goals in carrying out such missionary work all over, not only in US but outside. And I'm going to now provide his perspective on such humanitarian mission program. Tom?
Thank you, Partho, and welcome everyone. As Dr. Sengupta said, my name is Tom Ryan, and I have the privilege of chairing the foundation of the American Society of Echocardiography. So on behalf of the ASE and its foundation, I want to welcome all of you to what I am sure is going to be a very exciting 2014 ASE Foundation Value Summit in Bangalore. The foundation of the American Society of Echocardiography is an organization, the charitable arm of our society, whose goal is to benefit our members, our patients, and increasingly the global community, particularly the underserved patients around the world who do not have the same access to health care that many of us enjoy. So we take great pride in having the opportunity to participate and to support these kind of endeavors. This will actually be our third humanitarian effort in India, and I'm quite certain it will be the most exciting and the most involved. Over the next 4 days, you will experience an educational event that really I don't think has any parallel. It will be truly unique. There will be live scanning. You will be able to participate with an international blue ribbon panel of experts who will diagnose and discuss a range of pathologies of all sorts of valvular heart disease that are encountered by us in the daily practice of cardiology. There is technology available that is truly unique and really world class. So I think it's going to be a very exciting few days, and I congratulate you and thank you. I want to just say a few thanks to people whose efforts have made this possible. First of all, of course, I want to thank Sri Sathya Sai Institute for Higher Medical Sciences for hosting this wonderful event. I want to thank our sponsors, GE Healthcare and StudyCast. Without their generous support, we couldn't do these kind of missions. I want to thank, of course, the two people who on our side of the ocean worked so hard to make this a reality, Dr. Sangupta and Mr. Dave Adams, an old friend of mine who is there with you, and their efforts should not go unrecognized. I want to give a special thanks to Ms. Kathy Brown, our social media consultant, who not only helped us organize this wonderful event, but actually tried to teach me a little bit about social media and how to do these kind of things, so I'm very grateful for that. And finally, and most important, I want to thank the volunteers. I want to thank the volunteers from ASE, and I want to thank the local volunteers in Bangalore. You remind me why the field of medicine is such a great and inspiring place to be, and for that I am personally grateful. I wish you all the best. I think it's going to be a very exciting few days. I'm sure you will learn and you will teach, and most importantly, you will help the patients live better and healthier lives. So Partho, thank you. Congratulations to everyone, and I wish you the best of luck on behalf of ASE and its foundation.
Thank you very much, Tom. This has been such a great privilege to be a part of the ASE Foundation and to be able to organize. And as you say rightly, this is our third mission. And just to let you know that this mission is not just being done in India. We're starting to see a lot of activity beyond India. In United Kingdom, we are seeing some effort there being in United States, in South America. So I think this is just the tip of the iceberg of how the global medicine is soon going to evolve and why it is so important for institutions like Sathya Institute of Higher Medical Science, universal foundations and programs like ASE Foundation should participate and work together so as to make the medicine available to the underprivileged and to make it more globally available. Now I have the privilege to introduce another stalwart, Dr. Jagat Narula. Dr. Narula is the Philip J. and Harriet L. Goodhart Chair in Cardiovascular Medicine at Mount Sinai School of Medicine. He is the Director of Cardiovascular Imaging Program. He is the Associate Dean for the Global Health at the Icahn School of Medicine at Mount Sinai. He is the Editor-in-Chief of JACC Imaging, Global Heart, and Executive Editor of JACC. And the most important and the most significant has been his impact on me. He's my mentor, and he has made me proud by participating amidst all of participating in such activities. In fact, he has several such global missions to his credit. And I would like to, at this moment, introduce to all of you the fact that he's in fact one of the pioneers in when he did his cardiology training at All India Institute of Medical Sciences, and subsequently he was enrolled in the only PhD candidate, as the only PhD candidate for cardiology. His thesis was in rheumatic fever and rheumatic heart disease. And at this moment, I'm going to have some questions to him, and we would love to hear his impressions. Jagatji, first of all, welcome.
Thank you, Parthoji. Congratulations for such a wonderful organization. And good morning, ladies and gentlemen, Shri Sathya Sai. And I'm truly privileged to be a part of this symposium.
Jagatji, I've heard often you saying that rheumatic heart disease is the university of cardiology. I know that this is a distinct phrase that comes from you. Can you really elaborate a little bit more for us? Why do you feel so?
Parthoji, I truly feel that. It is indeed a university of cardiology. And the reason I say that is that given a patient of rheumatic heart disease, when there are various valves or there is a multivalvular involvement, you know that you have got array of clinical findings. You look at the electrocardiograms, you look at the echocardiograms, you look at the hemodynamics, you do the angiography, you do various other imaging technologies. The amount of information that you need to really put together, I do not think that there is any other cardiovascular condition which allows you to do that. And that is the reason that I call it a university of cardiology. The only other thing I can think of is the congenital heart disease, which basically, at least in the United States, is not the part of the curriculum. It becomes more like a pediatric cardiology, although in India, we continue to do pediatric cardiology as one of the most important components of our training. So essentially, when you start to look at the multivalvular disease and you have to make the decision whether to go after one valve first or to go after the other valve first, it essentially brings your clinical acumen and clinical analytic skills to its best. It creates a challenge for the surgeons, brings out the best craftsmanship from the surgeon, specifically when they start to deal with these valves. So essentially, it gives us more than all cardiology put together, and that is the reason that I would say that rheumatic heart disease is the University of Cardiology.
I agree with you, Jagat, and I think having seen the trends of rheumatic heart disease in India, I think there is a lot of work yet to be done. And coming to that point, we're really seeing different types of trends. We see trends of cardiology in the West, which is slightly different from what we see in countries like India. But having said that, it's really surprising that, let's say, the 40% of the outpatient clinical workload in an institution like Sathya Institute of Medical Sciences, which is in Bangalore, is still rheumatic heart disease. So how do you see this disease globally? And what do you think is the potential of a resurgence? And how do we talk about this disease and how to counter it globally? What role does screening and echocardiography could play in such programs?
Very important question, Parthoji. The most important thing is that since the World War II, we have seen a significant decline in the rheumatic heart disease in the developed nations, specifically in the United States and in the Western Europe. On the other hand, it has continued to be one of the most important disease conditions in the low and middle income countries, and essentially India is no exception. Not only that, we know that there are more than 15 million patients which we know exist all across the world, but now that we have started to do the echocardiography, and as you would be demonstrating over the next few days, specifically starting tomorrow, that there are multiple subclinical involvements that we basically have not been able to identify so far otherwise. So essentially, it's going to be a much bigger challenge than what we think. If you remember the resurgence in the United States, when for the first time we started to use the echocardiography for the detection of rheumatic fever or subclinical carditis in these cases, you remember that approximately 70% of the cases were found to have rheumatic fever by the clinical examination. But when we used the echocardiography, there were more than 90% of the subjects had the involvement of the heart. So essentially telling us that the involvement of the heart is almost universal when it comes to rheumatic fever. Now, talking about the trends in the countries like United States, we have seen the resurgence, as you very well know. The most important was the intermountain area resurgence back in the mid-1980s, where approximately 200 cases were reported from the state of Utah. And there was similar resurgence that was seen in Pittsburgh and some of the pockets also in Florida at that time. And it was essentially the most important distinguishing feature here was that it was not from the challenged or socio-economically lower income groups, these were the middle income group people who had complete access to the medical services. And the reason most likely that we saw that resurgence was the streptococcal type M18 and M3, which were the large mucoid strains, which probably were more pathogenic as compared to what normally the prevalence is. And also the possibility of slight change in our practices, that we were not as aggressive in treating the pharyngitis as we earlier were. And also, once the streptococcal pharyngitis was treated, after that, we do not follow them up the way we used to do earlier, and also we were not using our surveillance method for screening the families at that point in time. Now, this type of resurgence that we had seen essentially comes when there has been a significant decline in the rheumatic fever otherwise. As in Utah itself, we had seen approximately an 8-fold increase in the normal number of the cases which are referred for the rheumatic fever. The most important thing here is that although there was a decline in the rheumatic fever since the World War II, there also, we can confidently say that there was no change in the incidence of the streptococcal pharyngitis. So something else is going on. We really do not know why exactly this resurgence occurred. So the editorials that were written with this particular report were that rheumatic fever is forgotten but not gone. So essentially, we cannot forget that it is still a possibility, specifically now that the movement of the traveling patients as well as the movement of the populations, there is a possibility that rheumatic fever always should be on the back of our mind, even in the developed countries as well. Now, as far as the countries like India and others are concerned, obviously a lot of work has to be done. Most importantly, decrease in overcrowding, which obviously, and the sanitation and the environmental changes which are required, which go way beyond the health facility, and also the better detection, and after that the better prophylaxis when at least it comes to the secondary prophylaxis, so that we could at least decrease the need or necessity for the significant surgical interventions.
Thank you, Jagatji. So I have one question. So now with the technological advances, you have pocket ultrasound. Don't you think it's time to revisit the diagnostic criteria for rheumatic heart disease, rheumatic fever, like Jones criteria? Why do you think that we cannot invoke newer changes in how we are screening and detecting new rheumatic fever or diagnosing rheumatic heart disease, particularly with the new technology that is available?
Parthaji, the most important technology which can be used is the echocardiography, which you would be demonstrating here, and it is being used quite commonly, although its incorporation into the criteria has not become as effective as it should have been. The reason probably is that we are still trying to maintain the Jones criteria for the diagnosis of the primary episodes of rheumatic fever. And in countries where the rheumatic fever is most prevalent, quite like India and others, most of the cases that you see are not the primary rheumatic fever, and these are the recurrent cases of rheumatic fever. Now the problem there is that you need to have the findings earlier in the before the episode, so as to compare that there has been an increase in the carditis, or there is an increase in the regurgitation, etc., which will be able to give you the diagnosis of the recurrence of rheumatic fever. Or is it that should we really go ahead and try to believe that all the rheumatic fever would involve the heart, and we treat them as it is? So in all these situations, I think the most important thing in these countries still would be to continue to believe in our clinical skills to identify these cases, and echocardiography to be used as a supporting diagnosis. I do not see any other imaging technology which should be of any significant use in the diagnosis other than echocardiography. We have done the anti-myosin antibody imaging. We have done other kinds of the nuclear testing, which was not useful. I have done endomyocardial biopsies in rheumatic fever, and we did find that approximately 30 to 40% of the cases do demonstrate the evidence of ASEF nodules in the myocardium, which is not enough. And the clinical diagnosis continue to be a gold standard in those cases. And then finally, if you go for the MRs or any other technology, I don't think that anything else would be as useful. So my appeal still would be that it needs to have a clinical suspicion, clinical skills, and also the echocardiography, which would be a supporting technology in this particular case. And I don't think I would like to go beyond echocardiography for the diagnosis of rheumatic fever.
Echocardiography will be probably the most pivotal diagnostic test, and will be really evaluating and seeing and bringing back new results from this particular experience at Sathya Sai Institute. A quick comment, Jagatji, about is there any potential rheumatic fever or vaccine? Where is the vaccine stand? Is there anything going around? Why are the newer technologies and the new innovations not focusing on some vaccines so as to be able to eradicate this completely?
I think, vaccine, the efforts are still on, as you very well know. And you also know why the vaccine has been a problem, because of the cross-reactivity that you see between the M protein and the various cardiac antigens, and you always have a fear that the cross-reactivity would lead to the inducement of carditis, and that is the reason that there always has been a problem. And also that we do know that there are multiple strains of rheumatic or the rheumatogenic streptococci, which can cause the rheumatic fever, and the multivalent vaccines have been very difficult. So, but the efforts are still on. But what I really feel here is that the problem always has been that we have not known the pathogenesis of rheumatic fever adequately, and that is the reason that we are still suffering. In a very recent article, which I had done with our beloved mentor, he was your teacher also, and was a teacher of lots of cardiologists in the country, Dr. Rajan Tandon, who sadly passed away this year in April. So the last article that I did with him, and this was the article where he wanted to put out his views that it is not the cross-reactivity between the M protein and the cardiac myosin, which we really have been always afraid of as the cross-reactivity which has prevented us from having a vaccine. He wanted us to go further and say that the actual site of the damage and degeneration, or the so-called target in the rheumatic fever, was probably the subendothelial, subepithelial ground substance, perivascular ground substance, which is essentially the collagen 4, and it is probably the interaction between the M protein and the collagen. No autoimmunity here, or I should say no molecular mimicry here. I would not be able to refute the autoimmunity, but I will be able to say that there is no molecular mimicry here, but it is a simple interaction between the M protein and the collagen, which leads to development of antibodies against the so-called mutilated collagen 4, and that leads to the inflammation of the ground substance. If we start getting into those types of hypotheses, and this is the hypothesis also which is heavily supported by Dr. Singh Chatwal's group from Germany, where they have demonstrated in a lot of their experiments that there is a small 8-peptide area of the M proteins which binds to the collagen, and that leads to the interaction and probably an inflammation in the ground substance. If we are able to do that, we probably would be closer, or we will be at least inching closer towards development of a vaccine. But I think it is one of the most important things to do, because unless we have the vaccine, we would not be able to conquer the rheumatic fever as a disease.
Thank you for sharing your knowledge and wisdom, and we look forward to continuing to interact over the days to come. Thank you very much, Jagatji. Now it's my privilege to thank you, Jagatji. Now it's my privilege to introduce you to our team members and my co-directors. Mr. David Adams, who needs no introduction to the ASE Foundation. He's one of the senior most sonographers, and he's been instrumental and associated with humanitarian missions. Will come and give you an overview of what to expect with regards to the EchoCon over the next 3 days. David?
Thank you, Partho, and I'd also like to again thank the Institute here for our warm welcome. It's been amazing. We've only been here about 6 hours or so, and my team of sonographers, they were so excited this morning at breakfast, and sort of felt like lunch, but I just wanted them to know that we already have about 100 patients waiting for us out there. But before we get started, so I'm not going to go into details. I know there are some of the physician delegates that will be working with you that were not here yesterday, but I'm sure everybody will pair up and teach and learn from each other. I just want to thank Dr. Dash and Sola for such a warm welcome. We heard about the rheumatic heart disease, and as you know, it's a disease of the young, and so I'm especially excited to be here and to help out in any way we can. The other thing is we also heard about doing healthcare with love, and I have to say that as impressive as this place is as a building, I've been even more impressed with just the feeling and compassion from the whole team of people. One of the things that I think has kept me in the field of echocardiography for so long is that from day one, it was always a team event. It was always a team between the physicians and the sonographers that we work with. And I know you have an amazing school here, and there'll be a lot of student sonographers interacting with from the U.S. But I really do feel that as a team. But even more so, again, from the physical building here, is just we've already felt the love and support from everyone here. So I want to thank you for that, especially Dr. Dash.
Thank you, David. And what we are going to expect in the next 3 days, we're going to see in excess of 100 patients every day. We have the clinics which are going to be pipelining these patients. So in part of the clinical workflow, we're going to have patients being evaluated with smartphone technologies, and then they will come and get evaluated with their echocardiographic evaluation. When I started planning this mission program, I was really fortunate to be introduced to Dr. Sanjeev Bhavnani. Dr. Bhavnani is an expert in wireless health and digital medicine at Scripps Health and Scripps Translational Science Institute. He has been pivotal in planning and executing the mHealth component of this particular values mission program. I'm going to have Sanjeev come over and give us his overview of how mHealth is going to play in the next 3 days. Sanjeev?
Thank you, Dr. Sengupta. Thank you once again to Sri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Medical Sciences, the ASE Foundation, for this opportunity to make a difference in the lives of the people of our community. And not to take too much time since our patients are waiting, but an overview of global health that is now global mHealth. There have been significant advances over the last decade in how global health has translated into the care of the people in the community. Over 1 million community health workers have been documented with improvements in medical diagnostics, the United Nations Millennium Developmental Goals with improvements in technological advancements both in healthcare and education. And this in parallel with the essential medications list that has now made medications easily accessible from industry to healthcare providers. But we ask the question, is that enough? Is it enough to make a difference in the lives of these people, younger people, with early disease onset? We have the ability to deliver therapies, but where the limitation is making the diagnosis. And that's created what we all know as the healthcare delivery gap for global health delivery. Can mobile health bridge that gap? Well, we're going to ask those questions here over the next 3 days. Healthcare and education work together. As one benefits, the other benefits, and it's a reverberating cycle. By using point-of-care technologies that are easily available in the developed nations, now in a leapfrog fashion, to use in an underserved area, in an area where we can use the diagnostics in a point-of-care fashion, able to deliver diagnostics, tertiary diagnostics, at the point of care outside of a healthcare institute is one goal of the mobile health section of this initiative. Central to all is the point of care ultrasound, which we had recently discussed that is the most powerful medical device ever created. How can we build upon those strengths? Among individuals with structural heart disease, as we went through yesterday, the assessments of diagnostics and laboratory testing, can we obtain a holistic view of our patients through mobile health technologies and make decisions at the point of care that can impact patients' lives? So through this initiative, through clinicians that there are delegates and clinicians at Sathya Sai, in our mobile health arm to use the devices as you see clinically fit. Ask questions on validity, ask questions on how can these devices be used better? What are the barriers that we see? These are very important steps that we're taking to ask these first questions, and where we hope that the second questions will be even more successful. So thank you once again, and I look forward to our collaboration.
Thank you, Sanjeev. Now we are going to start with the program, but before we conclude the inaugural function, I'd like to key player for bringing the whole team from the United States coming here. There are so many logistical issues, but this cannot happen without the selfless activity and selfless dedication of some key players. And Dr. Shrikant Sola and Ashwin have been really pivotal in creating this excitement, and I would like to thank them for their initiation and their support. And also I'd like to thank Dr. Manish Bansal and my brother Shantanu, who have been part and parcel of initiating this whole humanitarian project in India. So the first mission and the second vision, they were involved, and they're also present here for continuing the journey into this mission. I would like to thank StudyCast and GE Healthcare for being generous in allowing us and helping out with the technical support. And of course, the most important, the volunteers. Won't happen without you. Thank you so very much. Thank you very much. And at this moment, I'm going to turn over to Kathy. Kathy, if you would like to make announcements for when is the next hangout going to be and what to expect there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Partho. Yes, this was a wonderful experience today that I'm sure the viewers have really appreciated, and they can see the compassion in the hearts of all of those who are involved in this program. And tomorrow we will be airing another broadcast, and we will be having live case studies of some of the most important cases that we see in rheumatic heart disease, and that will be a live interaction on air as well. So anyone who is viewing through the internet, you may want to tune in tomorrow for specific cases and to really learn how they're making a difference in what they do tomorrow and the next day. So I look forward to that. And I think this concludes our broadcast for today's welcome of the ASEF Values Program, and I hope that I will see viewers tomorrow at about the same time. Goodbye.